Hi, I'm Sofia. If someone had told the younger me, the girl walking barefoot through the dusty lanes of my tiny village in southern Colombia, that one day I would be fluent in English, traveling the world, and helping others find their voice, I would have laughed or maybe cried because back then it felt impossible. But here's my story. From the very beginning, I was born in a small village nestled between coffee farms and the Andes Mountains. The people in my village were warm hearted, always willing to share, even when there wasn't much. My father was a farmhand, and my mother sold handmade baskets in the local market. We didn't have a lot, but we had each other, and that meant everything. From a young age, I was curious about the world. I would lie in the grass at night, staring at the stars, wondering what life was like beyond the mountains. But the world felt far away. Our school had old textbooks, no internet, and teachers who tried their best but were stretched thin. English was introduced to us as a subject, but no one really knew how to teach it. I remember our teacher mispronouncing almost every word. For a long time, I thought apple was pronounced appeal. Despite the limitations, I was drawn to English. The strange sounds, the way the words looked on the page, they felt like keys to a secret world. But the more I tried to learn, the more obstacles I faced. Our family couldn't afford a tutor. We had no smartphones or computers. My only exposure to English came from an old radio. Sometimes, when the signal was strong, I'd catch snatches of English music or foreign news broadcasts. I would write down the words I didn't understand and try to guess their meaning. I created my own dictionary, filling pages with scribbled words and imagined definitions. People laughed at me. My cousins teased me, calling me gringa whenever I tried to speak English. Even some of my teachers told me I should focus on their more realistic goals. They didn't mean harm, they just didn't believe that a girl like me could ever master a language spoken oceans away. But I kept going. I don't know why exactly. Maybe it was stubbornness. Maybe it was hope. Probably both. One day, everything changed. I was 16 when a small group of volunteers from an international organization visited our village. Among them was a woman named Rachel. She was American and spoke fluent Spanish. When she heard me trying to practice English with a broken accent, she smiled and said, "You have potential." It was the first time anyone had said something like that to me. Rachel gave me a few English books, old ones with torn covers and missing pages, but they were treasures to me. She also left behind a small second hand MP3 player with recordings of English lessons and audiobooks. I listened to them every night, sometimes falling asleep with the headphones on. I began to make progress. Slowly, my vocabulary grew. I practiced speaking by repeating the dialogues I heard. I mimicked accents, tried to copy sentence patterns, and kept a journal in English. It was difficult and often frustrating. I would spend hours trying to pronounce a single word correctly. But with every small victory, I felt stronger. 2 years later, I got a scholarship to attend a community college in the nearby city. It was my first time living away from home. Everything was overwhelming: the noise, the crowds, the fast pace, and worst of all, I realized how limited my English still was. In the city, there were people who had studied in bilingual schools. I felt like a fraud next to them. There were nights I cried in my dorm room. I doubted myself constantly. But I also remembered where I had come from. I remembered the dusty roads, the hand me down books, and the girl who had once dreamed under the stars. I couldn't give up, so I immersed myself even more. I joined English speaking clubs. I watched English movies with subtitles. I volunteered as an assistant in the college language lab just so I could practice more. I made friends who spoke English fluently, and begged them to correct me whenever I made a mistake. I kept my journal, writing my thoughts in English, even when it felt clumsy. One day, I had to give a presentation in English. I was terrified. But when I spoke, something incredible happened. People listened, they nodded, they smiled, and when I finished, they clapped. That day marked a turning point. From there, doors began to open. I got an internship with a tourism company, helping translate between Spanish and English speaking travelers. I started teaching kids from rural areas basic English through online sessions. Eventually, I applied for a scholarship to study abroad in Canada and got it. Living in Canada was a dream. It was also a challenge. The accent was different and I had to adapt again. But by now, I had built resilience. I knew that every mistake was a step forward. I took advanced English courses, made international friends, and even started a YouTube channel to help other Spanish speaking learners improve their English. Today, I speak English fluently. I've traveled to more than 15 countries, working with NGOs, teaching, and telling my story. My YouTube channel has thousands of followers, and I've mentored hundreds of students from rural communities who, like me, once believed that English was out of reach. If you're listening to my story right now, maybe you see a bit of yourself in me. Maybe you feel stuck or unsure. Let me tell you this: learning English changed my life. It gave me access to knowledge, opportunities, and a global family. It wasn't easy. It took years of effort, countless failures, and more than a few tears. But it was worth it. Not because English is better than any other language, but because it became a bridge between the world I was born into and the world I dreamed of. So keep going, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because if a barefoot village girl with no internet, no tutor, and no support can do it, then you can too. And maybe one day, you'll be the one sharing your story, helping others find their voice. With love, Sophia.